What if the most self-aware people in your life are not pulling away because they are cold, arrogant, or depressed? What if they are pulling away because they finally saw something that cannot be unseen? You may have experienced this yourself. A friend who used to be everywhere slowly becomes unreachable. Someone who was once warm and engaged starts responding in shorter messages, canceling plans more often, showing up less. From the outside, it looks like distance, like rejection, like something went wrong. But psychology suggests that what looks like disappearing is often something else entirely. It is a reorganization, a quiet but deliberate shift in how a person chooses to spend the one resource they cannot recover: their attention. In this video, we are going to walk through the real reasons why intelligent, self-aware people gradually withdraw from social life. Not the surface reasons, the deeper ones. And by the end, you may recognize something not just in the people around you, but in yourself. If that already sounds familiar, stay with us. Subscribe to this channel for more psychology content that goes beneath the obvious. And at the end of this video, leave a comment telling us, have you ever quietly stepped back from someone's life, or had someone step back from yours, without either of you fully explaining why? We read every response. It begins with a small shift in perception. At some point, usually after enough experience with people who said one thing and meant another, the mind starts noticing things it once ignored. The smile that does not quite reach the eyes, the compliment that carries a quiet sting underneath it, the friend who only reaches out when they need something, the colleague who praises your work in public and undermines it in private. At first, these observations seem like isolated incidents, but over time the brain begins connecting them into patterns. Psychologists call this process pattern recognition, and research consistently shows that it develops alongside self-awareness. The more honestly a person examines their own behavior, the better they become at reading the behavior of others. The problem is that once the pattern recognition becomes active, it is almost impossible to turn off. Conversations that once felt easy now carry a second layer of meaning that requires constant processing. Social situations that once felt natural now feel like reading a text written in two languages simultaneously. And when that happens, even genuine interactions begin to feel like work. This is not cynicism. It is not the belief that all people are dishonest. It is something more specific, the recognition that not all attention is the same as connection, and that not all connection is the same as genuine understanding. And once that distinction becomes clear, a person starts becoming far more careful about where they invest their energy. There is a concept in psychology called cognitive load. It refers to the mental effort required to process information and navigate situations. For people with high levels of self-awareness, social interaction carries a heavier cognitive load than it does for others. Not because they are overthinking by choice, but because their brain automatically processes more layers of what is happening in any given exchange. This means that a 2-hour dinner that feels easy and fun to most of the people at the table can leave a highly self-aware person genuinely exhausted. Not from anything specific that happened, from the sustained effort of processing everything that was said, everything that was implied, and everything that was left unsaid. Dr. Elaine Aron, whose research on highly sensitive persons has influenced decades of psychological study, found that people with more finely tuned nervous systems tend to process social and sensory information at greater depth than others. This depth comes with real advantages in terms of empathy, creativity, and insight. But it also comes with a real cost in terms of how much social stimulation a person can comfortably absorb before needing to withdraw and recover. This is why what looks like antisocial behavior from the outside is often the opposite. It is not a rejection of people. It is a necessary and intelligent response to a specific kind of exhaustion that most people around them do not experience in the same way and therefore do not understand. Share this video with someone you know who has been called distant, cold, or difficult to reach. There is a good chance this explains something they have struggled to put into words. And stay with us, because the next two reasons are the ones that change how you understand these people entirely. Carl Jung observed that most people, for most of their lives, experience the behavior of others as something happening to them rather than as a reflection of what is happening inside the other person. The criticism feels like an attack, the silence feels like rejection, the comparison feels like a verdict, but as self-awareness deepens, a shift occurs. A person begins to see that the colleague who constantly criticizes them may be struggling with a deep fear of being outpaced. The friend who disappears when things go well may be dealing with an insecurity they have never named. The person who dominates every conversation may not be arrogant. They may simply be afraid of what they would have to face if they stopped talking long enough to listen. This shift in perception is not distance, It is emotional intelligence, which psychologists define as the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage both your own emotional states and those of the people around you without allowing those emotional states to control your decisions. When this kind of clarity develops, a person stops feeding cycles that do not serve anyone. They stop arguing with people who have already decided what they believe. They stop chasing validation from people who are not equipped to give it. They stop explaining themselves to audiences that were never genuinely curious. And from the outside, all of that stopping looks like coldness. But from the inside, it is often the first time a person has felt truly steady. Most people treat silence as a problem to be solved. The room goes quiet and the phone comes out. The weekend opens up and the calendar fills immediately. Being alone starts to feel like a symptom rather than a choice. For highly self-aware people, something different happens over time. Solitude stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like clarity. Modern psychology, including research from the University of Rochester on the benefits of autonomous solitude, has shown that time spent alone by choice, specifically time not driven by rejection or social failure but by deliberate preference, is associated with improved emotional regulation, better creative thinking, and stronger long-term decision-making. This means that the person who cancels plans to spend a Saturday reading or thinking or simply sitting in silence is not struggling. They may be doing some of the most important cognitive and emotional work of their lives. They are not escaping the world. They are listening to themselves in the only conditions where that is possible, when the external noise is low enough to hear what is happening underneath it. And here is where the real transformation happens. When a person no longer fears being alone, the reason they maintain any relationship changes. They are no longer in contact with people because they are afraid of what silence would reveal. They are in contact because they genuinely want to be. That shift produces a smaller circle, but it produces an honest one. Here is the piece that ties everything together. Intelligent, self-aware people do not disappear suddenly. They disappear gradually, one realization at a time. One day they stop responding to a group chat that had stopped feeling like connection and started feeling like noise. Another day they decline an invitation to an event they would have attended automatically a year earlier. Then, without making an announcement to anyone, they quietly begin building a life organized around their actual values rather than other people's expectations. To the outside world, this looks like withdrawal, like something went wrong. But what is actually happening is a correction. For years, many of these people were present everywhere except inside their own life. They were available to everyone except themselves. They were shaped by every opinion except their own. The disappearance is not a retreat, it is a return. So if you have found yourself pulling back from certain people or situations lately, the question worth asking is not whether something is wrong with you. The question is whether you are moving away from something that was never right for you. Because sometimes the people who seem to vanish from the crowd are not getting lost. They are, for the first time, exactly where they need to be. If this video shifted something in the way you see yourself or someone you know, hit the like button and subscribe for more psychology content that goes beneath the surface. And before you go, leave a comment. Does this describe someone in your life? Or does it describe you? Your answer might be exactly what someone else reading the comments needs to see today. We will see you in the next video.